Hi, and welcome to Get Cosy and Comfortable with Your Money. I'm Linda, the Money Mentalist, your host, and joining me now, I have the lovely Nicole Coyne from Tikumu Consulting. Hi.
Hi, Linda.
Thank you for joining me. Now, I was trying to figure out how long have we known each other?
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's a little while now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably a good 4 or 5 years, I would think.
Yes, that's what
Yeah,
I thought too.
yeah,
And I absolutely love saying this because it really is a credit to networking as well, is that's how we met.
yes.
And that's how I meet a lot of amazing people who either I work with or my clients work with and who've
Mm.
also become friends. And so it's been really fun for me putting this together because I get to talk to some amazing people. And of
Cool.
course, your business, Tikumu Consulting,
Mhm.
I know the story about the name, but tell us how about the name and a little bit about you and your business.
Okay. Thanks, Linda, for having me. It's really exciting to be with you and to have talk about money and what money means to me. Just a little bit about my business. So I am a certified professional coach, and I work in the coaching world around business. So I work with small to medium enterprise businesses, and then I also do executive leadership or management coaching as well. I also work in the academic space. So I teach coaching, and I work with the Southern Institute of Technology as well. So it keeps me busy.
Yes, and you have a really interesting hobby, activity that you do in your spare time as well, don't you?
Oh yeah, I do. I do trail running, if that's what you're referring to.
That's
Yeah,
what I was referring to.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I do trail running. So unfortunately, we haven't been able to do too many trail runs at the moment, but I'm really looking forward to getting back into it. And just to answer your question about where the name comes from,
Yes.
Tikumu means it's the Maori word for mountain daisy, and our precious fur baby, our dog, is called Daisy. So my business has been named after her, and it's a very special place in our hearts. So so that's where the name comes from.
That's cool. I love that story. That's why I really wanted you to share it. And that also does, I mean, the answer to my next little question is fairly obvious, dogs or cats.
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, I love all animals,
Yes.
But yeah, if I had to put one on the list, the first one is definitely dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, the reason that I wanted to have these conversations is, I mean, we've talked about it numerous times, is how, money is a taboo subject. I mean, you'll see it with the business clients that you work with. I guess some of them even struggle around the money in their business, let alone what happens after it comes out of the business in the personal life. So, it's really cool to be able to get this conversation out there and hopefully debunk a lot of the negativity that there is about money and what you should and shouldn't and how you should think about it and how you should feel about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I certainly see a lot of that in the area I work in, and I'm guessing you probably see that.
Well, you say that, Linda, but a lot of people, and this comes around goal clarification, and a lot of people feel a little bit nervous when you talk to them about, what are their biggest values and what are their prioritized on values. And a lot of people get nervous when they think that having a financial goal is their first priority in life. They think that they see that as a bit of a negative, but actually it's not, because at that time of their life a financial goal is important for them. So it's just finding peace with that and going, okay, well, right now money is important to me, and I need to focus on generating money for my business. So
and I guess a lot of that stems from that belief that a lot of people seem to have, that rich people aren't nice people. And I think that kind of flows through, materialistic, and you're not supposed to do that. So really interesting conversation around that. And the whole concept of, to do well in life, you need to be super frugal. Well, I don't want to be super frugal, and I don't think you do either. And a lot of the people we come in contact with, can almost feel guilty because they enjoy money and they enjoy it. Cool. Okay, all right, another quick question. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song, actually, I have a favorite era, which is the 80s.
Yes.
And anything to do with the 80s, but if it's Depeche Mode, that's my best. It takes me back. You know how music and smells to kind of take you back? Well, that takes me back to my high school years, and they were really fond memories. So yeah.
I know what you mean. There's one song that comes on the radio every now and then, and I can't even remember the name or who sang it, but every time I can picture myself, and I shudder when I think about this, in the bright pink tights and the green leotard doing exercising, jazzercise or whatever it was. And I kind of go, oh, I don't want that vision anymore.
Did you have leg warmers as well?
I probably did, yes.
Yeah. I had a pair of pink ones, pink leg warmers. They were real groovy.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, all right. So let's talk about money. So this question is one that I ask everybody because I get such varied answers, and I think it's a really important question to know yourself, and that is, what does money mean to me?
Okay. What does money mean to me? I think, and I'm obviously talking from my experiences and what it's for me, and I'm assuming it's going to be very different for everybody else, but I think in life, we go through various stages and ages, and I think in those different stages and ages, we're going to have a different relationship with money, or we're going to perceive money very differently. And I think if I had to think about money when I was in my early 20s, money meant what we were talking about earlier, was like status. If you earned good money, it meant that you were also competent, which is the strangest thing ever to think. So that kind of, those are the thoughts that was going on for me. And I think as I've matured and as I've grown, I've realized that money is not, it's not about those things. So what money means to me now is that it's about fulfilling my needs and my wants, and buy a house or car or go on holiday or whatever, but it's not the most important thing in my life right now. But I had to go through a journey to get there. It's, for me, it's not the be all and end all. It must be there, obviously, because you need to pay your bills, but I think it gets trumped by other things, family experiences, enjoying what you do in your work. Those things are more satisfying for me. But if you'd asked me that question, 20, 25 years ago, it would have been, money is really, really important. And that's okay.
Yeah, I think it is too, because we do go through those stages, and I think that's what's interesting too, is the meaning of money changes as we change, as our environment changes, as we get older. So if you could wrap all of that up into a couple of words, what would you think those words might actually be?
What money means to me in a couple of words. It's a part of my life. But it's not dominating my life.
Okay.
And I feel that I have a good relationship with money because of that. Right.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And I think it's also associated with that sort of like, well, I've achieved and I've got to this point. I don't actually have to feel guilty about it. I don't have to show off what I've got. It's there.
Yeah.
I guess the word that's popping into my head is kind of harmonious.
Yes, I like that. I really do. And I can actually share an example with you, a life example, if that's if you'd like. And it was probably one of the best lessons I've ever learned in my life. And it was really all about money. So when I was in my, I would say, mid to late 20s, I was in a really good position. I was earning nicely. It was, you had the house, the car, all of those things. Money was an important part of my life, but I wasn't happy. And it was, well, why weren't you happy? Because you've got all this stuff and you've got all these things. And that was kind of that mindset around, well, you have to have money to buy things, and you have to have all of these things in order to have a status and all of that. And eventually what happened was I actually left my job because I was not happy, but I left to nothing, which meant that I wasn't earning anything. And during that time frame, it was probably about 6 or 7 months, became very clear to me that money wasn't going to buy you happiness. It wasn't the most important thing in the world. It's there for a purpose, but you have to find value in other things. And that for me was probably the biggest lesson. And I think that has helped for me to have a better relationship with money.
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean, let's face it, our society is totally driven by what you have. I mean, look at what's happened in terms of what's available to spend and how easy it is to spend money, and how we're encouraged to spend money to acquire stuff supposedly because it makes us feel better. But as you say, there are some incredibly wealthy people who are incredibly unhappy, and there are some incredibly happy people who don't have a huge amount. And I think breaking that between peering over your neighbour's fence and seeing what they've got and thinking that you should have it is something it's certainly more internal, isn't it, than external?
Yes. So it's using money in the right way for me, and maybe coming back to that question of what money means to me. It needs to be used for the right things.
Yes.
And it's not about using it to, look better or feel better. It's different, and it's got to be used for the right purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I can relate to, as we mature, that kind of changes as well, because again, back in my 20s, you aspired to have the mansion, it wasn't just a big house, you had to have the humongous house, And now I look back on that and I'm going, thank goodness I didn't get it, because imagine cleaning the place, and all those practical kind of thoughts hit as well. And I'm going, then I think, well, no, actually, you probably would have paid someone to clean it, but it's not about the big house now. It's about who you're in the house, who shares that space with you more than
exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. And yes, everyone does have different meaning that they associate to money, and it does determine our decision making. It's the way you think about money will influence how you choose to spend it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
And I think having the clarity that you have got around it, I think would make you, be very wise and very conscious about the choices that you are making.
Yeah.
But that I also would think is not stopping you from having fun and enjoying it.
Oh no, absolutely. We have a rule in our house, is that if money needs to be spent on doing something with health or sport or an experience or an activity, we do it. That we spend the money on that because that's what's going to give us joy. So absolutely, spend the money in the right place with the right purpose.
Yes. And you've also touched on it there too, is that you're aligning it to your values as a family and what's really important to you as a family. So you've got, this isn't just you, this is your whole family has come on board with that whole concept as well. And I think that's interesting too. And I'm just going a little bit off topic here because it's kind of interesting. Do you talk as a family about money? Because I know you also have a daughter as well who is how old
she's
is she?
9. She's 9 now.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit young, but I guess she gets that sense of how those values fit around how you choose to use your money.
It's quite strange and quite interesting though. If I look at some of her little mates, similar age, they're quite into their pocket money and earning their money, whereas she's kind of not too interested, not too concerned about this whole pocket money story, which is great. Long may it last, because otherwise mums can fork out the money. But interesting. You when you asked that question around, do we talk about money, and it's probably the worst thing to say, and we don't. We just, it's just like, I know that there's bills to pay, and my husband knows there's got bills to pay, and we have a very similar mindset around money. And I think that's probably what's most helpful. I think if you had a person in a relationship who's like a big spender, who doesn't save, who doesn't consult on various purchases, that would be difficult. If there's somebody who is in a relationship who doesn't like to spend, whereas I think with my partner or my husband and myself, we think the same way. We have the same value system. So I think we've had it quite easy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And that's certainly, I tend to meet people at each end of the spectrum, where you guys are in the middle, where you have naturally been able to do it, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yes,
and that's good. I guess, with the work that I do when I'm working with, my goal is to try and bring people to the place that you are naturally, which is really exciting.
Yes.
Okay, so our next little question, because you've led into it beautifully, talking about relationships. Little bit of a fun one, but I've had some really interesting answers to this question. If you were dating money, what would it say about you?
I think if I was younger, I would be, the money would say that I'm giving it lots of attention, putting it on a pedestal, a little bit obsessed. Whereas now, money would probably say it's not feeling very loved. It's not getting the attention that it used to get, which is a good thing. So if that answers your
So it's kind of off the pedestal. So maybe it's more in a kind of a nurturing space than a in your face have fun.
Yeah. It's a mate now. It's not a date. It's a mate.
Right. Yeah. So you've moved into the long-term relationship phase.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's important that we actually think of money as a relationship in those kind of terms, because it's really what we are doing with it. We are making life choices with money in our life, because you found out when you stopped working because you were unhappy and you took it away, you got some really cool learning from that. Yeah.
Also, just another thing as well about, if I was dating it, I would see it as an equal. I wouldn't see it as something that would be dominating me.
Right.
So it's an equal. So there's no control there from money to me. It's an equal relationship. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess again that sort of leads nicely into around with you with your with working with clients in business. Do you sometimes feel that money is controlling them and the decisions they make in the business, rather than it's them being clearly in control of the process and the money maybe being secondary?
I think that's a really good question. I suppose it just depends on the person. It depends on their value system. It depends on where they are. I think I think having a financial goal is very important. You need to have a goal. It can either be here on your list or it can be here on your list, but you still need to have one. Because if you're wanting to achieve things in your business or in your personal life, there needs to be some form of financial resource somewhere. So holding them back, I think it was probably along the lines of what I mentioned earlier, is that just taking ownership of having a financial goal and being okay with a financial goal being a priority, because if you're going to start a business or you're wanting to fund something, you need that that financial injection into your business, and that's important.
Yes. Yeah. I often say, that if you don't have a plan or a financial goal, it really doesn't matter what you do with your money, because you're not actually working towards anything. So why not spend it all, and worry about it later? And, being a money coach, I kind of get you can't say that. And I go, but it's a reality. And at some stages in life, that's what it's all about. And I remember having a conversation with, Amy, my daughter, who is now a 30-year-old, but when she was in her early 20s and we were talking about, money and categorizing and things like that, she looked at me with almost horror and said, Mum, I only need one category, and that's fun.
Yeah.
I think we were probably all like that in our 20s.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So looking back in time, if you could turn back the clock, if you think of a kind of situation, would you do something differently financially than maybe you did? And what sort of lesson would you have learned from something? I mean, you've already kind of talked about it a little bit. Is there anything else?
I'm going to take the easy route here and say no.
Okay.
Because I think if you don't make those mistakes, you don't learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to make those mistakes, and you're going to make those odd decisions in order to reflect on it and go, hey, was that a good idea or a bad idea? What did I actually get out of that?
Yeah.
So I think I would keep it as is. If I look at it from a business perspective, I'd maybe probably invest a little bit more money into a business at the beginning stages.
Mm-hmm.
But on the whole, I think just learning from our mistakes and making sure we don't do it going forward. We don't
Yes.
repeat those mistakes going forward.
Yeah. That's really a very good point, because I think, we tend to, and I suppose it depends on the size of the financial mistake as well. Some of them you can get over fairly easily, but some of the big ones, yes, you do have to learn from them, but I think a lot of people tend to beat themselves up about that decision, and they can't get past that point. It's once you get the learning from it, that's when you're then free to certainly move forward, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Lovely. This is very enlightening. I'm enjoying this. Okay. All right. So if I was to give you $1,000 right now, what would you go and buy?
So we don't live in the same country as our family.
Right.
We live in New Zealand, and the rest of our family live in South Africa. So I would probably put that money towards travel ticket. Obviously, there's travel right now is not permitted, but I would put that towards a ticket to get a family member to visit. So that's what I would do.
Yep. Lovely. And what would be your most frivolous purchase? Frivolous or impulsive, either or.
I don't know. Oh goodness, my most frivolous purchase. Probably buying a snowboard. I think that was probably but then, as I said earlier, anything that's got to do with sport and health and activity is there's no questions there. So I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, cool. Very good. Oh, look, so this has absolutely been fantastic talking to you, and just even the little bits we've talked about in terms of business, I am sure there will be some people listening who would go, oh, I need to talk to Nicole. Now, we are going to post all your links down below, but is there a particular way that's easiest to get hold of you?
It's probably if you just pop my website details down, and my email is probably the best option. They just click on it, and then there's a contact page on my email on my website. Yes. So it's just easier to do it that way.
Okay, fantastic. Well, this has been incredibly enlightening. I've had an absolute ball. Thanks, you Linda. So much. So that's it for this chat, and we will be back very soon with another one. Bye for now.
Bye.